Welcome to the Next Gen CMO podcast, where we sit down with seasoned CMOs and emerging talents in sales and marketing to explore the wins and occasional losses that shape today's leaders and the strategic maneuvers that can help propel you to the forefront of B2B marketing.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Next Gen CMO podcast. Today, I'm so excited to welcome my coworker and my teammate and my friend, Alicia Hale. Alicia is, I don't know if I've had anybody. Oh, no, I had Gareth. I was trying to think if I'd had anybody else from Demandbase on the podcast, but I'm super excited to have Alicia. She's our SVP of Growth at Demandbase. She runs all of our growth programs. She drives pipelines. She manages our SDR team, and she leads our community. So she's got a lot of perspective. She's been at Demandbase for, I guess, around 8 or 10 months by now. I think that's about right.
I think it's 8. They're right? Fast, yeah.
She's a 2-time CMO. She's led marketing strategy and execution for other kind of high growth pre-IPO B2B SaaS companies across PE and public. So we're super excited to have her and learn today a little bit about how she and we, I guess, are thinking about AI in the world of B2B marketing. So welcome, Alicia.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I feel so fortunate to be one of the few DBers to join you on this. Kelly, not only do we get to work closely together, but now we get to go on the podcast. So I'm excited to be here and super looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. Well, good. Well, we're glad to have you. I think folks are going to learn a ton from you today. So before we start, tell us a little, or tell our people who are listening about your career journey. Like in 3 or 4 sentences, quick summary. Where'd you come from? How'd you get here?
Yeah, I never thought I'd be in marketing. So in the fewest sentences possible, to avoid taking a math in college, I took a computer science course, then learned SEO, and kind of broadened from there all the way up to becoming a CMO. So it's sort of the classic pick a specialty and broaden out from there. And I feel super fortunate to be able to be in a leadership role in marketing and help all these amazing companies, and particularly Demandbase, grow and be successful.
Awesome. Well, you and I have both been CMOs long enough, over enough years, to have seen sort of pre and, I won't say post because we're still in the middle of it, pre and middle of AI takeover in the marketing world. So from your perspective, tell me a little bit about how you've seen that transformation, what you think are like, where you think the AI opportunity is for marketers and where the challenges are and how we think through those.
Yeah, it is such a fascinating time to be a marketer. If you zoom out though and think about it, marketing is always one of those disciplines that's evolving, right? We went from no attribution to multi-touch attribution. We went from just trying to triangulate who was a great lead for us to getting more intelligent about intent signals and so on. So it's sort of one of those disciplines that's always been evolving. And it's been really interesting to see how AI has taken that constant revolution or evolution and made it even faster for us. So I think one of the interesting things for marketers and for CMOs specifically is to try and keep track of the landscape of all of these tools and figure out where they can make the biggest impact in the fastest way. So I think it's a super, super fascinating time for marketing. So yeah, when it comes to, actually solving problems and deploying AI in an authentic way that can help marketers, I think there's a lot can be done particularly on the content side. Personalization is super hard. I think AI can really help us personalize at scale. I think it can help us orchestrate a lot more as well so that we don't have to do so many manual tasks from a marketing perspective. And I really think it can help in the relationship aspects of B2B marketing. I think it can enhance it by really allowing, again, the AI and automation-oriented technology to take a lot of that manual work to provide more capacity for marketers to learn more about customers and their products and what's working and what's not working and what messaging is resonating so that they can be better and do the things that only humans can do.
So then that tells me that, there's always this question about is AI replacing people? Like, is it replacing humans? Are humans going to lose their job? Are marketers losing their job? My feeling is no, but I do think it's going to shift the shape of those jobs. As you talked about, like people actually being able to do the things that humans excel at: strategic work, the understanding of the customer, the buyer personas, all those kind of things. Like, what's your take on that? Like, is it a cost-cutting thing, or is it a revenue accelerator, or is it a maximize your people thing?
Yeah, I think it's a maximize your people thing. And to your point, I've been around the block, as have you, long enough to see a lot of different evolutions of this marketing profession and of SaaS in general. So I remember this sort of a storyline from when I was leading America's marketing at UiPath. And UiPath is in the robotic process automation space. And a lot of what we heard as we were growing that company is RPA is going to come and take people's jobs. Automation is going to come and take people's jobs. But what really ended up happening is there sprung up an entire new category of jobs called RPA developers to create the automations, to maximize people's workflows, to figure out when automation made sense, which use case made sense to deploy it. And I really see this time now within AI of being really reminiscent of that, where I think marketers' jobs are really going to change. I think not only will we be able to better optimize humans' interaction with work, right? So we can really double down on what humans do great, the creative pieces, the unbelievable ideas, the strategic work, but also have folks who need to build out the AI to assess the workflows, to figure out how to tinker and engineer all of these different, AI software pieces to work together and to be able to give those folks who are doing that creative work more strategic or more inputs to be able to do that work better.
Yeah, absolutely. I have so many thoughts. So the first one is about the rate of change you talked about, like so much that we've seen. I mean, I'm older than you, and I remember my first marketing job I was at Kraft Foods, and I was managing some Chips Ahoy and whatever, cookies.
Now you're making me hungry. I haven't eaten lunch, Kelly.
I also managed cottage cheese if you want to kill your appetite.
I just kill the appetite.
Yeah, there you go. While I was pregnant, so don't even go there. I had big budget. I think my Chips Ahoy budget was like, $50 million or something crazy. And they would say, okay, we're going to put all this in print. We're going to put all this in TV. We're going to put all this in like billboards and things like that. They'd say, we'd love to test some online. And we'd all be like, that's crazy. What a waste of money. Don't put your money online. Like, people don't shop for cookies online. Like, that's a crazy spend. They would say social media, and we're like, social what? Like, that doesn't even make sense. It's so funny. And then today, so I feel like we're sort of the last generation that's truly seeing the before and after of like before cell phone, before AI, before automation, before all the things, before social, before digital, before all the things. And then the full appreciation of the after. And the after now is changing so fast.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just interesting. So that's one of those where I'm like, man, like the pace of change is so fast. My career's not that long. I mean, 25 years or something. And I've seen there's been that much of an evolution. The other thing you mentioned, we were talking about taking people's jobs. I have a theory. You want to hear my theory?
Sure. Yes, of course I do. Sure.
And it's probably dumb, but it's because I'm watching my teenagers, and I'm watching this AI thing, and I'm hearing all of these webinars and reading these ebooks and things about AI. Is it going to take people's jobs? Is it going to replace workers and all that good stuff? I think that AI is going to take jobs that people don't want anymore. Yeah. So here's what I'll say. So my kids, their entire like adult life, they're the next generation of workers. They're teenagers. Their entire sort of like aware of what mommy's doing life.
Mommy does phone calls all day.
Like, you're like, I don't care what I do in my life, but I'm never doing that.
Yeah.
9 hours in front of that computer sounds like hell on earth. And so it's like all three of my kids, like when you ask them what they want to do, none of it is about technology or working in corporate or any of that. They want to do something outside. They want to be a college football coach. They want to be an actress. They want to be like, content. I mean, maybe content creator, I guess that's part of it, but they really like this idea of being out with real humans in real life is more inspiring to them, because they think this is so just a sad little life that we have. And so I just think about
I'm laughing because I feel that deeply, because my kids are a bit younger than yours, but they have the same perception. They're like, what does mommy do for work all day? Phone calls. They're like, you talk to people on the screen all
boring.
day. So boring.
How do you sit in that chair in that room all day long?
Yeah.
And so I think is AI coming at a time when the next generation of workers doesn't want to be behind a desk anyway?
Yeah.
And are we actually sort of taking the jobs of people who would rather do something, and it's going to actually spur an outdoor face-to-face human interaction, career movement that has gone away the last 10 years because of remote work and all of that. So anyway, that's my theory. So I'm interested to see where we go. Anyway, totally derailed there.
No, but I resonate with that. I think it kind of lends itself to what we were talking about just a second ago, right? There is just this reborn need for humans to be creative and get out in the world and do more. And a lot of humans don't want to do this mundane work or the phone calls all day. But then there's some humans that might want to, and there's a role for them too, right? So I think if anything, it just opens up more opportunity for people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, very cool. Okay, so let's move on. So speaking of AI and speaking of Demandbase, because both of those are relevant to us, Demandbase recently announced Agentbase, which is a new, huge technology for us. Very exciting. It's a system of connected AI agents that are all designed to help accelerate B2B pipeline growth in the most basic form. So how do you see that evolution of AI-driven automation really reshaping the way that maybe your team operates or how B2B teams in general operate?
Yeah, it's a great question. And again, I just want to throw another shout to our huge announcement of Agentbase. We're so excited to be able to see how we'll be able to better help marketers be more efficient in their jobs and generate more pipeline while they do it. So very, very exciting for us. And I hope you all will try. But when I think about AI and how it is reshaping go-to-market teams, it is super fascinating to see the boundaries between those departments start to blur. And we've seen some of it here at Demandbase, right? Some of the tech that we play with, it's not just MarTech anymore, right? We can use it. We have a use case for it, but maybe sales has a use case for that tech as well. Maybe ops has a use case for that tech as well, right? So it's been interesting from a tech perspective. But when you when you drill down to the pieces of go-to-market, you have sales, right? And sales was all about hitting call quotas and sending as many emails as possible. Now people are pivoting so hard towards precision and making sure they're hitting the right accounts at the right times. And those AI tools are really helping those reps, SDRs, whoever really zero in on which prospect might be ready to buy. Now, marketing's been on sort of a similar journey. And instead of kind of going with these fixed email sequences, and we've all built them, right? Email is one of those pieces that is becoming much more flexible. It can be much better orchestrated based on real-time intent and real-time signals. And that can be underscored and quickened with AI, because AI can notice when someone's engaging with particular content and then automatically adjust when they get an email, but then also personalize to show what people see next. And then additionally, CS teams, right? They're enabled by AI to really sort of better assess customer sentiment in a real-time manner. And we just talked about this in our AI ebook that just went live. So I think that there's a lot of AI goodness throughout go-to-market teams. And similar to what we were just speaking about, I think it's just going to make those teams sort of work more closely together, orient towards speed, and free up those team members to have more conversations so that they can be better aligned.
Yeah, for sure. And the ebook that Alicia's talking about is the one about AI strategies for B2B marketing. It's available on our website, demandbase.com, but it's also all over LinkedIn and things right now as well. So definitely check it out because, it does have some of those very practical hands-on tips on how to better leverage AI.
Just to drill down on sentiment analysis, because you mentioned, Kelly, the AI ebook, and one of the cool ways that we discuss sentiment analysis within that ebook is utilizing it to empower CS teams. And it's super fascinating how we've moved beyond the whole thumbs up, thumbs down sentiment analysis, or sort of like red, yellow, green. These newer signals, they can pick up on emotions, whether a customer is getting frustrated during a support call, or whether a customer is super enthusiastic about a prospect's response. So like Kelly said, I would super encourage folks to check out that new AI ebook that we just posted, because this is one of the core areas where I think marketers can gain some value really quickly.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think the AI world's pretty interesting when I think about like AI has always powered Demandbase, right? It's the one that's it's taking all of this first and third party data together and deriving insights from it that's informing marketers on that next best action or which personas to go after, which accounts to target. So all that's been the case. But now I think with the introduction of Agentbase, what it's actually doing is helping you use the platform better. So a platform like Demandbase or any kind of, big MarTech or RevTech type solution can sometimes be complicated to learn and complicated to maximize potential. And you always feel like this thing can probably do more that I don't know about.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how to unlock that value. And so I'm excited about the agents because to me, it helps more people get to be able to use it faster. And I think that's true. Agents in general, this automation, it just helps you get there faster. You see it on Google, you see it in, in like whether I'm in email or Gmail or whether I'm on Google search, like it's there to help you distill a lot of information in a really simple way. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. One of the first agents we launched too, our account summaries agent, is going to end up just in and of itself speeding up marketers' use of the platform because instead of having to go and look through a whole bunch of different panes and make a whole bunch of clicks, they can just really quickly read that analysis at the account level. So I'm really excited about the agents that we've launched and the ones that we plan to launch for the rest of the year.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. You're also using AI in some other ways. So I guess we both are, but you are in things that you're doing to help your SDRs. Tell me more about that outside of Demandbase, just or AI tech that you're seeing be successful.
Well, let me take a step back. I think one of the things that we've done well at Demandbase is that instead of just buying the tech, we started with the use cases. Where did we see that folks are spending a ton of time that is not generating a lot of ROI for the company? And really zeroing in on what those use cases were before we ended up either purchasing the new tech or expanding our relationship with tech we already had. So one of the pieces of technology we use is sort of this AI workflow platform. And we when I started, had used it to be able to speed up the amount of information that SDRs could get on an account quickly so they could do more efficient outbounding. And we've really been able to scale that and include additional data points in that. We can now use that tech to scan LinkedIn. We can use it to really quickly scan and pull out specific words in 10Ks. We can use it to augment how we reach out to a buying group. So we're using it most predominantly with the SDR side of the house.
Okay. So with everything going on in the world of AI and all the pressure now, I feel like on pipeline and growth, profitable growth, efficient growth, all the new trends kind of that are hot right now as compared to say 5 years ago or 10 years ago. What do you think the CMO role is going to look like in the next 3 to 5 years?
Oh my gosh, what a fascinating question. It's just because there's so much talk about the CMO role already, right? Is it going away? Are companies not going to have CMOs anymore? Should it now be the chief market officer instead of the chief marketing officer? Should it just be a chief growth officer? Should marketing report into sales? It's just so much noise about the role anyway. But I think that, if anything, AI is really going to be able to empower CMOs to be more data literate. I think it's really going to sort of transform the role that's been sort of on this path anyway to more of a intelligence-oriented role, because a CMO has to be super comfortable discussing data science and brand storytelling and everything in between. And I think with AI becoming so popular, that technical requirement is only going to ramp. So I think what's really interesting is that as AI starts to handle more of the execution work, like we're talking about with agents who are optimizing campaigns and personalizing content, managing channels, I think CMOs are going to have some more bandwidth to be able to focus on deeper human elements of marketing. A good example is, I think that a lot of CMOs would love to do more customer interviews and would love to do more market research and would love to really figure out what emotional connections really drive loyalty in their space. But and I know that you can attest to this, Kelly, just the nature of the job has you popping through so many different points of context every single day. It's really hard to free up that time for thought work and to be creative. So I think that AI is going to allow CMOs to be able to have that breadth, to be able to be more tied in with their audience.
Yeah.
So I think the role is really going to become more or less about managing people and execution, and it's going to be more about big ideas that are informed by emotions and customer touch points that'll really help them move their companies forward. So if anything, I think the CMO role is going to become even more strategic, in addition to being more technologically literate, and will have even more impact, both, in the C-suite and at the board level. But I'm interested to hear what you think. How do you think the CMO role is going to evolve over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of thinking more. I actually was laying in bed last night after flying back from the board meeting and thinking, I need to block time to think. And I used to do that. And that think time became catch up on email and Slack. And so it ended up not being actual think time. But I think you're right. I sat on a webinar 2 days ago, and it was talking about the sort of role of the CRO relative to the role of the CMO. And
that's interesting.
And we talked about that, right? Is it a chief market officer? Should marketing be under it and somebody owns all of revenue? And one of the interesting takes, and I'm going to probably make all of my sales peers not happy with this, but the consensus was that CMOs who, like, if you combine marketing and sales together under a chief revenue officer, under a chief growth officer, whatever it is, that it's more successful if a marketer takes over all of marketing and sales than if a salesperson takes over marketing and sales.
Because that's fascinating.
Yeah. And it's because if a salesperson takes over, they're going to always deprioritize the upper funnel things, the content things, the brand things, the product positioning things, because they're not pipeline drivers. And they're going to optimize for revenue and pipeline instead of all the things that actually will dry up the top of the funnel if you don't do them. And so, whereas a marketer is going to come in and yes, they're like what they want is all the things they're putting into market from a content, programs, pipeline perspective to yield revenue. And so they are going to be much more sort of balanced on their approach of managing both because they want to see the impact of the marketing side show up in the form of revenue. So they're going to pull that thread all the way through. So pretty interesting. So we'll see if that ends up moving in that direction. I do think that there's so much searching now that with the power of AI and the internet access to everything, I do think that so much of marketing happens before we ever talk to a prospect or customer, right? There's 70% or whatever they say happens before they ever engage. And so I think it's going to be more and more about figuring out how do I get my brand message, point of view, whatever in front of them in that 70%, and how do we find those and how do I do it efficiently? So it's going to be a different world. And then how do I do tech? How can I operate as efficiently as possible by leveraging tech to maximize my impact without sort of the sort of shelfware aspect that's happening a lot these days because there's so much tech. We're sitting here talking about AI, and the reality is I read a stat the other day that said it was like 30 or 40% of AI companies will be gone in a year.
I've seen that stat, and I think that's true.
Yeah. So knowing which ones do you place your bets on? Like, is this one that's going to last or is this one that's not? This is a really cool concept, but is it enough to like sustain a company? I don't know. And then others like started with little small tech, but they can iterate so fast that their expansion becomes like all of a sudden you're like, man, they can do all the things. And so it's just going to be like keeping up with tech is like going to be a full-time job. I think there will be people whose only job or a person in a company is to keep up with the rev tech evolution and what we're doing to make sure that we're maximizing our spend in that area and our utilization of it.
Yeah, I think that Clay's a super interesting company, and they are really pushing this idea of like the go-to-market engineer. Mm-hmm. Being that person that's sort of keeping up, I guess, the AI-oriented tech and which systems can tie together and play off each other. And I think there's a lot of merit to having someone like that on staff. Like I know RevOps to this point has really been the technology owner. And I think that's right? Because there shouldn't be redundancies in tech. We want to be efficient in how we spend money on tech. I say that from my ivory tower of marketing where we have such a massive tech budget over here, but like we need some police. So I think it's important to have that. But they don't really get too involved with how the systems work together, how you can build on and develop them, and what new hot cool tech is coming. So I think to your point, there is something to be said for having somebody figure out how that tech talks together and which AI is the right AI to deploy and how they can play off each other.
Yeah, I sort of see like two trends kind of at opposite ends of the spectrum. One is I want fewer tech. And I think you see this a little bit maybe more on the enterprise side. I want fewer tech that's more powerful, does the big stuff, and I want it to just talk. So I want big Salesforce instance,
Yeah.
big marketing automation platform. I want a big account-based platform that's running across all of my marketing and sales. I want a big ServiceNow on the CS side or whatever it is. You got all this
Yeah.
tech stuff here. And then you have this sort of, we used to call them 10, 15 years ago, born in the cloud companies, but these new tech-oriented companies that I think are exploring a little bit of this unbundled approach that you're seeing now, right? We talk about unbundled ABM, but I think there's unbundled all of it because with all these AI companies and data companies, if a company has resource, and I think there's going to be breaks because your point, like, do they all connect together? Do they all come with the APIs to actually talk to each other? But there's enough individual little parts that if I have enough time and bandwidth, I can build it myself to put all these, and I'm fine to have, 50 pieces in my tech stack as long as they're, and then I'll connect them all together. And so I think those two ends, one is more tech and I'll connect it myself. Another one is like, no, I want platforms to do it all. And then I can just roll my whole team onto it. And so it's going to be interesting to see like where that pendulum swings and where the majority of the market goes, I think.
Yeah, totally. I think it's an interesting time to be in sort of a software buying mode because there's these, different life cycles of software, in my opinion. And sometimes Gartner will kind of equate in certain markets them to this hype cycle. But what I've seen, I've just been in tech long enough to see sort of the evolution of the platform, like the rise of the platform and everybody calling everything a platform, to then things going back down to point solutions and then going back up to a platform again and then back down to point solutions again.
Yeah.
And what I've seen is the point solution seems attractive to a certain degree, but you're still working with a whole bunch of different companies with their own point solutions, right? That have their own self-interest at heart that they might integrate today. They may not integrate tomorrow. And being able to manage all of that tech and make it sing is really hard. It's cool to build it at the jump, but to keep it going and talking together and working together can be really exceptionally hard. So I think that kind of always gives way to the rise of the platform again. So to your point, it'll be interesting to see which of these unbundled tech solutions across all markets, most of which are AI driven or AI first, triangle platform. Which ones scale, how all this shakes out. It's such a fascinating time in tech.
Yeah. And I may, I'm going to tie us back even to another pseudo shameless plug for Demandbase, not intent, because we were talking about agent base and the reason why. So to counter what you said, so if we think about the disparate sort of set of all the individual point solutions, they're all running typically on different data. They either have their own data or they feed their own data from a data source, but they're potentially like running on different data, which means your takeaways, insights are going to be different by different tech, and then you're trying to mesh them all together through APIs and connect them to each other. That can work. I mean, I think the reason why we're so passionate about this agent-based launch is because we've been in the data game for a long time, right? All of the time runs on data, AI-powered data insights. And now that that same data power is going to be feeding all of the agents. So all of those different AI bots are going to be using the same data, the same quality that you already trust to feed them in and out. So you never have to worry about, are they contradicting each other? Are they using different insights? They're all sharing the same insights, but solving different tasks, which I think is really powerful. And it really unifies that go-to-market experience, but also unifies like your customer profiles and your accounts to go after, your next best actions and all the things, because they're all feeding off the same insights.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a critical element of when you're thinking about, as a CMO deploying AI into the business. If you're using different data sets to be able to fuel your AI, whether it's Demandbase or wherever you get your data from, it's going to fuel different results. And that doesn't lead to alignment go-to-market teams. So I think it's super important if folks want to be successful and get ahead of this AI train that we're all trying to stay on board on. It's to make sure that you're really getting your data together first and it's unified and you have a centralized data source that is fueling all of your different AI tech that sits on top of it. And to your point, Kelly, that's what makes agent-based so interesting. But whether you're a demand-based customer or not, I think having that is one of those best practice pieces of using one centralized data source to really train your models, fuel your AI, influence sort of what your AI strategy is unbelievably important. Otherwise, they're just contradicting each other, just like you said.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And the AIs are only as good as the data that feeds them, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So we need
100%.
That trusted, transparent data is important. Well, cool. So we have run the AI thing to a beat down. And so we'll move on a little bit and go ahead and wrap up. So one other thing I wanted to ask is, do you have a fun fact about you that maybe our listeners might enjoy hearing?
Kelly, you've known me long enough now to know I am not that fun. I guess.
She's lying. She's still fun.
My fun facts. I don't know. When I started here, I used that I have a brand new puppy who is not so brand new anymore. So we are a working dog household. We have gone with, working and herding dogs over here. And I've had dogs since I was born. And we recently got a new puppy who is, well, not a puppy anymore. He's a border collie poodle mix who has turned out to look 100% border collie. And he's 9 months old and he knows how to jump now. If I tell him how to do that, next thing you know, he's going to be bringing out my trash. So
that's a working dog family. Actually, like herd sheep on the weekends. Like, what is working dog?
We do. It's my spare time job. That's how I pay for summer camp. Right? If I was like a sheep herder.
Yes. Oh yeah, you're like, I got a new puppy. Oh wait, and I'm a sheep herder.
I wear special hats and overalls. And my cane to herd my sheep. Yes. I wish I had a fact as fun as that, Kelly.
No, I'm watching 1923 right now, which is like one of the prequels to Yellowstone.
Yeah.
And the sheep herding thing is like a whole thing, like a whole part
Are you kidding?
I know, it's a big part of it. So maybe your dog would have been really, really valuable in 1923.
Probably. Is it like the alpaca trend? Like everybody has an alpaca or like chickens now?
Yeah, I had a friend who had an alpaca. She lived like downtown San Antonio and had an alpaca.
I'm telling you.
I'm like, what is that? How does that work?
It's a thing. Maybe sheep are the new thing. Like AI is the new thing.
Yeah, I have a dog. His name is Big Time, and that's it. I have he has no skills outside of sleeping right here.
I think that's an amazing skill.
I mean,
to be honest, that I should use more.
Awesome. Well, this has been so fun. Thank you for hanging out with me for the last 30, 40 minutes, whatever it's been. If people wanted to follow you or find you or contact you, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so I am Alicia Hale on LinkedIn. You can find me there. And I am at ahale@demandbase.com.
Oh, you shared your email. You're going bold.
I had to do it.
Yeah.
I know. Come talk to you about AI at any time.
There you go. Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us. We will see you on the next episode of the Next Gen CMO podcast. Have a good one.